I must say that it has been satisfying to work on this paper for many reasons. One of them was the fact that during most of the period that we have covered, I had the privilege of being the secretary in the Ministry of Rural Development. So I had first-hand knowledge about some of the transformations taking place in micro-environments across the provinces. Secondly, it was a hypothesis at that time that perhaps something is changing, but we were not able to put our fingers on it. And I recall having written on similar lines at that time that perhaps women's participation in rural areas is going up because of their larger participation in the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Program, as also the access to credit under the Deen Dayal Antyodaya Yojana National Rural Livelihood Mission. At that time, I remember at various points of time, I wrote thrice for the Indian Express, indicating that perhaps the change here is significant, even not so much in the earnings of the households, because both MGNREGS and single or two-member enterprises, nano enterprises, they are not necessarily leading to very high earnings. But having said that, clearly there was a change. And the third factor which became very important was the fact that women being recognized in the agriculture sector. It's important because many a time the land doesn't belong to them, but in practice they carry out more than 70% of the agricultural operations if you include animal welfare, care for cattle, poultry, goatry and so on. Now, given this situation, by providing access to credit to such women at the margins through the women's self-help groups, through the National Rural Livelihood Mission, in a manner we formalized that role of work in agriculture, and with a very large program like the Mahila Kisan Sashактikaran Pariyojana and the effort to engage with almost 17 million women farmers in rural India through Krishi Sakhi and Pashu Sakhis, community resource persons who worked with women's collectives to improve sustainable agricultural practices. Many of these also reflect, and as also the PLFS data shows, the increase was in agriculture wage employment availability, and the improvement was also in access to credit for nano and micro enterprises. This paper tries to learn from it based on the numbers that are available for this COVID and post-COVID period, which has seen the rise in the female labor force participation rates in rural India.